Así que supongo que Donald Trump y todo el movimiento MAGA, después de pasar toda una semana diciendo que deberían de tener una guerra civil contra las personas de izquierda, contra todos los liberales. Porque como dice Nancy Mace, las personas que acabaron con la vida de Charlie Kirk son estos liberales, son los izquierdistas. Y en palabras de ella, está al tanto de un complot de izquierda. Lo que sea que esto signifique. Y luego de que el FBI y el ATF dijeran que dentro de este asesinato está lleno de muchas ideologías transgénero, después de crear nuevamente este caldero de división dentro de Estados Unidos, lo que está haciendo todo el movimiento MAGA en este momento básicamente es difundir mentiras tras mentiras, porque básicamente a lo que se dedica el gobierno de Donald Trump es a difundir mentiras sobre cualquier crisis, sobre cualquier atentado y sobre lo que sea. Un gran ejemplo de esto son los incendios de Los Ángeles, donde muchas personas tuvieron que evacuar a sus familias. Y de las primeras cosas que hizo el gobierno de Estados Unidos, refiriéndose al incendio de Los Ángeles, es difundir mentiras que únicamente hacen que la vida de las personas corra más riesgos. Así que quiero mostrarte esto, que esto fue cuando Donald Trump asistió a Fox. Y puedes notar cómo él trata de cambiar la historia cuando dice lo siguiente. Nos enteramos de que era un ministro el que estaba encargado de la aplicación de la ley. Nos enteramos por parte del papá del chico, Tyler Robinson, que fue la persona que disparó a Charlie Kirk. Esta era una pequeña familia republicana de Utah que eran amantes a las armas. Es más, este joven se disfrazó de Donald Trump en Halloween. De todos modos, esto es lo que dijo Donald Trump. Un ministro me dijo, y luego quiero que veas el cambio aquí. Mira el clip, por favor.
Just some clarification. So a pastor was able to turn him in, or they got the family of the shooter to turn them in?
Well, it was a minister, and the minister went to a minister who was involved with law enforcement, by the way. And his good friend is a top U.S. Marshal. And they took it from there, and then it was a father got involved, namely his father, and said, we got to go in, and they, so I understand it, and again, subject to change, but, you know, the facts are the facts. We have the person that we think is the person we're looking for.
Son hechos, y Donald Trump básicamente pasó de un discurso dentro del despacho oval o de la oficina oval, donde estaba básicamente declarando una guerra civil, a decir, son hechos, ya sabes. Luego cambió diciendo, ¿de qué quieren hablar? Hablemos de Soros, hablemos tal vez del Estado profundo. Soros, tal vez involucrado dentro de una conspiración masiva. Miren este clip, por favor.
We'd love to save Chicago. We don't want to go into a hostile by the way, the people will greet us.
Right.
But you know, they have professional agitators. Mm-hmm. They're professional. They're paid. I had one the other night. I went into a restaurant and this woman stood up. I looked at her immediately. She had money. She wasn't serious. They get paid for it. They're professional from Soros and other people. And we're going to look into Soros because I think it's a RICO case against him and other people. Because this is more than like protest. This is real agitation. This is riots on the street. And we're going to look into that.
What do we do about her?
¿Qué hacemos con ella? Eso es lo que está tratando de decir allí. La miré y no era ella. Creo que todos sabemos lo que estaba tratando de decir. Y luego Donald Trump dice, perdieron. Esto es lo que dice sobre Los Ángeles. Que la razón por la cual Los Ángeles se quemó tan fuerte y no pudieron solventarlo antes fue porque no permitieron que el agua bajara por el Pacífico Noreste. Donald Trump lo que hace es crearse grifos imaginarios que evidentemente no existen. Trump cree en su mente pequeña que hay una frontera imaginaria entre Canadá y California. Frontera que, por cierto, por si no lo sabes, no existe, y frontera de la cual Donald Trump está diciendo que él hubiera activado los grifos. Grifos que tampoco existen. Miren el clip, por favor.
Look, if we didn't go into LA a few months ago, you wouldn't have the Olympics there. They lost 25,000 houses to fires because they didn't have the water come down from the Pacific Northwest. They have a lot of water, but they send it out into the Pacific to protect their little tiny fish, right? Which did very badly when it didn't have any water, by the way. Right. But just, the whole thing is so crazy. You wouldn't have lost any houses. You would have had a fire. They would have had sprinklers going. They would have had fire hydrants. But they lost 25,000 houses. Now they want to build low-income housing where many of those houses were. I don't know if you heard that.
A continuación, quiero que veas la entrevista realizada a Nerra Tanden, es presidenta y CEO del Centro para el Progreso Americano, la cual abordó varios temas de relevancia mediática. Yo considero que son muy importantes de saber y de entender. Miren el clip, por favor.
I mean, I think this week has been just like an incredible distillation of how we have to fight like this division and hate every day, you know, where I think we're all so used to having political leaders from both the right and the left who try to bring people together. And actually, we have, as you noted, a president who does not know who the murderer is. does not know who killed Charlie Cook, and decides to have an Oval Office address that basically attacks half the country. He uses every opportunity to attack people who disagree with him. I think he is ultimately focused on silencing his opposition. Why? Because the opposition is effective. He is unpopular. And so he will grasp at any straw to drive, a wedge in the country, to try to seek political advantage. And so obviously there's a lot we need to know about the murder of Charlie Cook, but it does not look transgender to me. He's not an immigrant. He comes from a Republican family with very, very, very easy access to guns. So, I mean, there's a lot to learn here, but I really hope people who have been spending the last 48 hours weaponizing this, real tragedy. It is terrible that we have political violence in our country, and it is wrong and it's not just wrong, it's horrifyingly wrong that anyone would kill Charlie Kirk. Full stop, period, end of sentence. But it makes it unimaginably worse to have political leaders who do this. And the thing that's crazy about cable news is I debate people on TV who know all of that. They know everything I'm saying. They know Trump is massively divisive. A lot of these people are just like saying what they need to say to get on cable or to be in the president's good graces or possibly run for office in the future on the Republican ticket. And that's also like a pretty gross degradation as well. But I'm glad to be there fighting to cut through the bullshit.
And speaking about cutting through the bullshit, Donald Trump can be doing things that are so obviously against what president should be doing, what we should be doing as a member of NATO. I mean, not even making any statement, not even making a statement in solidarity with Poland after Eastern Poland was attacked by Russia. Trump's response was like a Jerry Seinfeld line. What's with Russia? Question mark. Stay tuned or something. Yet then you'll have somebody who views themselves as a, quote, Russia hawk debate you and say, Neera, this is all part of the plan. You don't get it, Neera. He's operating on a lot of different levels here. And no, he's not. And it's making us weaker. And we're heading into this abyss day by day. And they're leading us there by enabling this behavior. What do you think?
So I think this is exactly the right point, which is, the truth is that for all his tough talk and bullying people and attacking people, Donald Trump is demonstrating just the greatest weakness on the international stage that I have seen in decades. I think it's really important to call people out on this. Of course, they will say there's 3-dimensional chess, and he's solved six international crises. Of course, no one can actually name any of the 6 or all of the 6. And the truth is that the United States is in a geopolitical theater. We have geopolitical competitors, Russia and China, and just you saw the this really dark visual image of the world leaders kind of rushing to embrace China and Russia, particularly Modi of India. We've had decades of work to try to pull India into the U.S. Influence, kind of circle of influence, and within a week or two, Trump repudiated them. And, the next day or so, Modi is in a warm embrace of China, of Xi. And just as a reminder, China and India have had border skirmishes that have created a great deal of alienation, but we wiped that out in a week. So, and the truth is Donald Trump has put red line after red line after red line on Ukraine. And they erase them so quickly Russia erased them so quickly, we've just ignored them. But for the first 6 months, he was like, we need to have a ceasefire. There needs to stop bombing and no more bombing like in cities. There's just red line after red line after red line. And I will say, I do think this is an area of weakness. All these guys on cable and everywhere else want to like beat their chest of how powerful and strong and just robust Donald Trump is and how America is back under his leadership, and really have a hard time answering this very basic question, which is, why does Donald Trump allow Russia and Putin to push him around? Anyone remember the big summit we had just a month ago? Anyone remember, how he's like amazing that he was going to have a ceasefire, and honestly, Putin thumbs his nose at Trump every day. And the fact that he just sits and takes it and won't push a Russia sanctions bill and just allows it is just an incredible ongoing mystery to the Donald Trump presidency.
The way I think Russia sees it is, whether it was, Reagan, Clinton, whoever, especially the Reagan, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down that wall moment.
Yeah.
Standing there, in Europe, making that statement was and Gorbachev's response. I think that Russia has viewed that, and Putin views that, as a national humiliation, public, etched into Russia's history, and then the capitulation and fall of the Soviet Union. They are currently, it's happening now, putting the United States through a similar, if not even greater, humiliation ritual, that we're the joke of it happening as we speak. Alaska was Putin's kind of moment like that to in his mind, restore the strength of Russia, mock the United States in the most public way on American soil. He achieved it beyond, I think, his wildest imagination. And then you still have the Lindsey Grahams in the Senate saying, I'm introducing a bill where we're going to super seriously sanction Russia. This time we're going to call him a terrorist nation. I've spoke to Donald, and it's like, he's not going to sign that. MAGA Mike's going to kill it. Like, it's right. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, just to say really briefly on this, I think you're totally right. And just remember, we rolled out a red carpet. And just as a reminder, we rolled out that red carpet. We had American soldiers on their knees rolling out that red carpet to Putin. That's a visual image that we should all remember. And the truth is, like, any rational actor would recognize that Ukraine is fighting on the front, literally on the front lines of supporting a democracy against an imperialist, really proto-fascist country. And it is because Trump has sympathies with, essentially a system of autocratic leadership that, he just does not see that. And it's really going to be a stain on American leadership. And, there's a lot of damage that's being done, of course, domestic damage on like militarizing our National Guard against cities, really threatening people's basic rights, picking up immigrants, people who've been here 20, 30 years, abuelas off the streets. A lot of damage is being done. So I don't want to pretend it's just a foreign policy, but this is going to be decades, and it's going to take decades for us to restore our leadership on the global stage if we're able to do so.
Finally, I want to touch briefly on the economy. I mean, I could touch longly on it for hours with you, I'm sure, but you have Donald Trump out there saying we've brought in as a country $17 trillion based on imaginary deals. He doesn't go
like
with
the size of half the American economy, but sure, yes, okay, keep
he doesn't
going.
go with 200 billion. He goes with 17 trillion during a time where we got our August deficit numbers, where the deficit has increased. I think it was another 345 billion, 650 billion in expenditure, whatever the math works out, where the deficit is 345 billion, where not only does the math not math, it's such a crazy, made up, imaginary, fake number. But again, the issues are that number still permeates into the algorithms, and people hear a number. They may be the way, 17 trillion, I guess, whatever. And they go about their day. But again, I just feel like this moves us. At least in the past, when we had a crisis, even during the Great Recession, people would say, okay, here's the issue. There's a problem. We got to fix it. Emergency. We're like, here's a problem. What are we going to do? Donald Trump goes, 17, we fixed it. We're great. What are you talking about? There's no problem. That's a big difference from how we've dealt with crises in the past, don't you think?
It's a big difference, but I think this is a hugely, I think this is really important to remember. He's going to talk about tons of jobs he's brought and $17 trillion of investment, and the economy is roaring, blah, blah, blah. But the truth is his policies, the amazing thing about Trump is really, it is like the longest con, right? Because his policies are being borne the hardest by working class people. I can't even say the name of this thing, the one big beautiful bill, is going to mean people lose healthcare, 11 million people, because of the bill. Because of their inaction, 16 million people will lose healthcare. That is working class people in the country. And the tariffs, as you see in just the latest data, food prices are up because of the tariffs. Who does that really hurt? Working class people who bear the disproportionate burden. Groceries are a larger share. And so this is really a little bit like the Russia situation, which is, he will yell and scream and try to change the discourse and just convince everyone is okay. But the truth is, people today are as concerned about cost of living as they were a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Why? Because they are experiencing high costs. Coffee. A lot of people have coffee. Okay, I have coffee. It's more expensive. People elected this guy to make things cheaper, and he's making them more expensive. Why? Just because of some weird ideological approach that he has on tariffs that is not bearing out at all. The truth is, on Russia, on the economy, he doesn't really know what he's doing. He has a lot of bravado because his learned lesson is fake it until you make it. And I do think on like the big beautiful bill, reality still matters. I mean, I debate people on TV, reality still matters. Trump's numbers on issues are like, he's unpopular, even on immigration. Why? Because reality matters. And we all have to be armed on facts. Inflation is going up. It's not going down. Consumer sentiment is going down. It's not going up. Interest rates are high still. The economy, it's still very expensive to live in this country, and it is becoming more expensive because of the actions of Donald Trump. So I know that I go on TV and I'm definitely like trying to get through the bullshit, but it's really important, like for all of us to be armed with the facts, to aggressively make arguments, to take the case out to the country, because he cannot suspend reality as much as he'd like to. He cannot actually suspend reality, and reality will still matter, and reality still bites.
Bueno amigos, este fue el video de hoy, espero que les haya gustado, más que todo que lo hayan entendido. Recuerden que para mí lo más importante es su opinión y me encantaría que la pongan en los comentarios. Además, si les gusta el contenido de política estadounidense, les va a encantar suscribirse al canal, ya que subo videos todos los días. Mi nombre es José Alvarado, soy economista y estoy comprometido a informarte diariamente. Nos vemos en el siguiente video. Adiós.